This is Apollo 14. The astronauts have just completed their second excursion on the moon during EVA-2, and they have gone back into the ship, and they are preparing now to jettison what they will not be taking with them back to the moon. And in the upper right-hand corner of your picture, you are going to see the flag move 8 times. A total of 8 times. It will move into the picture 4 times, then it will move out of the picture 4 times. Something is clearly blowing it, and the astronauts are in the ship preparing to jettison. Now here it is on the right side. You see it comes in. That's the first time it moves. Just watch it. It's just blowing there to the left, and then it's going to blow back to the right, and that'll be the second instance. There you go. It blew back to the right. Have you seen that before? I don't think so. I don't think you've seen that before.
Okay, and Terry, could you verify suit relief and auto, please?
Recall that we are in a vacuum, and there is virtually no air pressure capable of making wind. So, what is happening here? There it is again. Quite spectacular if you haven't seen it before. It's just blowing in the breeze. And there is no possible scientific explanation that fits this scenario with the astronauts in the ship. This is a clear smoking gun, folks. Clear smoking gun.
Okay, Houston, suit relief is now in auto. Okay, thank you, Al.
So this is a sustained blow here to the left. It's still there. It's still blowing in the breeze. And it will now blow back to the right. And we've been told by NASA and their defenders that anytime you seem to see the flag moving, that in reality, it's only moving because the astronauts are touching it and maneuvering it. And the only other time that NASA has stated the flag moved is when the rockets fired during the ascent from the moon, and the jet blast comes back and ricochets off the descent stage, which remains on the moon, and causes a wind blast that makes the debris scatter and the flag move. It's important for you to see this in its entirety without me editing it. So we're just going to be quiet here for a minute or two until the last few flag waves happen on the right, and then we will move on. Enjoy the music and pay attention. There it goes. There's number 5. It will blow back. That's number 6. And here comes number 7. And there goes number 8. Okay, that's 8 times. Now you are looking at an official NASA.gov page, Earth's Moon Fact. And the second question down concerns whether the moon landings were fake because the flag was seen to move. Quote, "My friend said that the moon landing is fake because of the flag. When you put it on the surface, there is no wind, so how could the flag move?" The person who answers the question is Stefan Edberg, astronomer, NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Who is Stefan Edberg? Well, we can see that he is a scientist at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory at NASA. We can also see that he was assigned to Galileo and Cassini and a number of other projects. He is well known in his field. He is admired. He has published many peer-reviewed papers and done interviews on behalf of NASA, and he even has a minor planet named after him in recognition of the work he has done with the space program. Quote, "The only reason the flag moves is because the astronauts are setting it up. For a few seconds after they let it go, it swings a little bit, and then that dies out, and there is no more motion. The only wind on the moon came when the lunar module carrying the astronauts turned on its rocket engine and lifted off the surface to rendezvous with the command module orbiting the moon with the third astronaut. The engine exhaust briefly creates wind as it is deflected sideways by the LM's descent stage, which stayed on the moon. After exiting downwards from the engine in the ascent stage, the exhaust went sideways until the ascent stage was high enough that the exhaust no longer impinged on the descent stage or surface. End quote. And then the final paragraph states, quote, "I don't understand why some people think the landings on the moon were faked," end quote. Considering the fact that you just testified to us that the only wind created on the moon is when the rockets are firing, and this flag here is flapping in the breeze, perhaps if you looked at this evidence, Scientist Edberg, you might have the same questions as us. Now let's take a look at a question posed in 2004 at the Bad Astronomy Forum, which is now called CosmoQuest. Unfortunately, the question involves a video clip for which we do not have high-resolution video, so this super fuzzy ALSJ clip will have to suffice. AJV states, quote, "I had a look at the fuzzy video clips from ALSJ, and I think you could see the flag actually turning from pointing almost towards the LM to not being visible in the frame at around 1:31:10:27. This is while the crew are waiting for the pressure to drop enough to open the hatch for the second EVA. The ALSJ video frames are truncated on the right." Before taking a look at the pre-EVA flag movement, I want to return to the post-EVA flag movement and do a side-by-side comparison between the high-resolution video where you can see the flag moving and the ALSJ truncated version. Hosted at nasa.gov, they are definitely damage control.
Okay, Houston, ticket relief is now in auto. Okay, thank you.
9 days after AJV claimed that the flag had been blown, the ALSJ people made an official response to the Bad Astronomy Board. And here it is, quote, "As one of the posters noted, the flag swings around the pole in response to cabin depression. It would be a very interesting exercise in fluid dynamics to estimate how long it would take expansion of the dumped gas to reach the flag and how much force it would impart. There are folks who know how to make such estimates, but I'm not one of them." End quote. That is complete bunk. The idea that the oxygen escaping during depressurization of the ship could somehow create a wind to move that flag back and forth 8 times or to move it at all is completely ridiculous. Furthermore, it contradicts what NASA scientist Stefan Edberg told us. This is because any amount of oxygen coming out of the depressurization nozzle or from the hatch when it was opened would suddenly rush into the vacuum with the particles going in every direction at once. So let's take a look at some scientific documents that prove this point. The first is an article from nasa.gov entitled, "Is There an Atmosphere on the Moon?" Looking at the top paragraph in the image, I quote, "One of the critical differences between the atmospheres of Earth and the Moon is how atmospheric molecules move. Here in the dense atmosphere at the surface of Earth, the molecules' motion is dominated by collisions between the molecules. However, the Moon's atmosphere is so thin, atoms and molecules almost never collide." Now let's follow up with an article posted by one of the staff at Strathclyde University in Glasgow. "At typical space shuttle operational altitudes, the pressure is approximately 10 billion times lower than at sea level. At these extremely low pressures, the mean free path is several kilometers in length." Now this is the beginning of EVA 2, and you see the flag, it looks like a white square in the top right hand of the screen. It is going to clearly blow from left to right, and this is the part that they were discussing in the Bad Astronomy Forum, and here it is. The flag swings all the way left to right, including the bar that holds the flag, and we're supposed to believe that this happened on the moon. We're going to go back to the ALSJ and we're going to see their attempted defense, but they completely admit that the flag moves in that clip and that the flag moves later on after the EVA. But in this clip I just showed you, the entire flag moves. It turns from left to right, which means not only the cloth fabric, but the bar that holds it up that we've heard so much about all these years, that has to turn with the flag as well. And we're supposed to believe that in the vacuum of space, the air coming out of the ship caused some sort of wind, which we know is not possible. Now let's take a look at the Apollo Lunar Surface Journal as they try to explain both of these flag movements. During the depressurization, the released oxygen flows out of the dump valve into the lunar vacuum. Figure 9-4 from the Apollo 14 preliminary science report shows the arrival of the released oxygen at the CCIG experiment. And then they offer a disclaimer, quote, "The limited availability of Apollo 14 data does not allow us to be very precise." Actually, that's false. All the data that is necessary is contained in the Apollo 14 preliminary science report, which they have mentioned in their so-called defense. When they refer to the CCIG, they are referring to the cold cathode experiment, which measures the density of the lunar atmosphere. And we have the necessary readings right here. They mentioned this graph in their defense, but it actually destroys their alibi. The pressure of the atmosphere is measured on the left side where it says pressure torr, and you will see that the pressure changes from 10 to the minus 7 approximately to almost 10 to the minus 6. That is an infinitesimal amount. That is a tiny, tiny amount. You cannot even imagine how small that is, and that is not enough pressure to do anything. Take a look at that number to the left. 10 to the minus 6 torr is 0.000001. Again, seeing that the highest peak reached of the air pressure upon release of the oxygen as measured by that experiment is almost 10 to the minus 6. The Pascal number that corresponds to 10 to the minus 6 on the right is 0.00013. This is a graph that measures the orders of magnitude in Pascal, and the appropriate column is the second from the left under pressure. You will see that 1 Pascal is the pressure of a dollar bill lying flat on a surface. 10 Pascal is the pressure of a gentle breeze. Now look at the bottom row of the Beaufort scales. These measure wind speed and pressure. Under name, you will see gentle breeze. To the left of that, miles per hour, 8 to 11. In the right-hand column, you will see conditions on land, and at the bottom, for gentle breeze, it says flags extended, leaves move. So if you need 10 Pascal for a gentle breeze, and the best you can manage is 0.00013, then Houston, we have a problem.